All right, this is the On the Hunt podcast, episode 59. That's right, you've been with us 59 different times. My goodness, it has been a long time coming. We are just so excited to still be here and still be doing this program with all of you who tune in, whether you tune in live or you tune in later on. We appreciate you very much. You will notice tonight that I have got the number one Lions fan, Mr. Bobby Bless. I have also got Reggie Funches on the screen with me tonight. And hopefully at some point we will have Nate Rucker popping in as well. I want to get things started by tossing it over to the number one Lions fan, Mr. Bobby Bless. Bobby, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm coping. I'm coping. Trying to trying to make it day, taking it one step at a time, day by day. And if you know any other good cliches, I'll throw that out there too. But shit sucks. I've been I don't know how been staying out of Facebook jail. Uh I don't know how I've been staying out of real jail. Um it's just I'm just taking it day by day, man. Just one step at a time, brother. It's just the rage that I felt the other night is not healthy. Reggie, how you doing, brother?
I'm pissed.
Oh man, yeah. It's funny. I was telling Bobby off the screen that I have a coworker who works with me at the radio station, but he also works with us at the studio. He does a Licorice Pizza podcast, Don Despa. And Donnie was telling me this morning, he said, "Man, y'all about to have a show tonight," because he knew what happened on Saturday. And he said, "Man, that Bobby Bless, he's so funny." He said, "I can't wait to see what he's got to say on the matter." So
Oh God.
I don't want to keep Donnie Despaw waiting. Okay, I want to give the people what they want. So
Oh,
for
you so
Donnie
old.
Despaw, for Donnie Despaw, number one Lions fan, Bobby Bless, Bobby. I'm gonna give you the floor. Your thoughts on what happened Saturday night. Go ahead.
Man, I can't think of the name of the book, but it was the best of times and it was the worst of times, right? Uh Once again, and the reason why I say once again, Elijah, as my lifetime of my 40 years on earth, I have experienced the Lions losing a lot of different ways, brother. And every time they lose a certain way, I feel like I have seen it all. But there's always another one. And to be honest, man, uh from to go up and down so quick, it's also not healthy. Uh I feel like man, when Taylor Decker caught that ball, I was about ready to start screaming Super Bowl. You know what I mean, brother? Like this is a team of destiny. And then there's a flag. I thought somebody was joking with me. I looked, said, "Oh my God, it is a flag." So I'm thinking, what else? I think I was thinking, they was gonna call offensive pass interference or something like that. And then make a long story short, when they said an eligible man downfield, like I know Taylor. I was like, I know they ain't running play, and then this man ain't telling me. You know what I mean? Because I know you got to declare yourself and all that different stuff. But make a long story short, man, I was pissed, man. I was hell on fire, and and then Dan Campbell going for it. I'm already when Taylor Decker got the touchdown. I'm already go for it. Let's win the game. Let's win the game. I mean, when he's got the 2 point, I'm like, oh, we won this game. We won this game. And then they take it back. Uh, it just gives me, I just have so much bad memories with that damn Dallas Cowboy team, man. There's always some kind of foul play coming on with them games, man. Uh, and it is never, to me, like football. It's always politics. I'm actually sick of that. But it also unfortunately took a little bit of just speaking that amongst Lions fans, aka my friends. It also took me to a place where the Lions can be everything we want them to be. And if we don't really start, if we don't kick the other team, you know what? there's gonna always be a chance that the Lions will get that game tucked away from them, mostly because of the officials. But you know, just and then different media heads got their opinion. You going down Facebook timeline, they got their opinion. I'm giving somebody their receipt at Walmart, they got their damn opinion. I'm just not over it. If it's 12 steps, I think I'm still in denial, man. So I'm still in denial, man. So Reggie, how you feel about the game, my brother?
I told you I was pissed.
I love you, man.
Oh, Lord, 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 Lord. Therapy needed. A fifth of scotch needed. If I smoked, a blunt needed. Some quality time with the lady needed. And all of that still won't relieve the anger that I got.
Oh,
I have watched my team be at the brunt of bad calls so often that you would think that you'd be numb to it by now. The difference is it wasn't us taking a loss and we weren't really doing nothing anyway. This is taking a loss with our team having actual Super Bowl aspirations. If the NFL to allow something that egregious to happen, it's criminal, man. It really is criminal. Like I try to put myself into the ref's shoes. Maybe I was seeing something different, especially when it initially happened. I'm like, oh, how do you jack off a call like that? Until I start seeing the video. And I'm like, you the lead ref. You the guy that runs the crew. Both them men actually walked up to you and you had to ignore them. And I'm talking about Sewell and Decker. Both of men is in your face. One is telling you that he's reporting. And then you ran away from them dudes like, I don't want to hear what you got to say. La, 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 la. I said that. And then the things that compounded it for me was the fact that Dan Campbell broke down the play to the beginning of the game. That makes it so much worse to me. So you were supposed to have anticipation of this play. You're the only one outside of the staff that knows the play, and you still jacked it off. Then to make it even worse, they had this after game report, and you trying to blame the players. And that's why, you know what? I heard, I don't know if y'all saw Rex Ryan speak on this.
Yeah, I did. On Sunday Countdown.
He has gone up so much in my eyes. Cause I used to didn't like Rex Ryan. But he went off. And he said exactly what I was thinking.
But man up. Blaming the players.
Man up and own what you did. Don't try to blame the players for that. You made the mistake. You made a mistake. You made a mistake. And then you compounded it by making it seem like it was on everybody else but you.
Yep.
And I appreciate Dan Campbell as a man because I'd have said a lot more ridiculous, nasty, evil things in my press conference after that. Like I really admire how much self-control he exhibited because I can only imagine, man, you just get that taken from you. Like you had everything taken from you on that last play. And then we had shots at the number 2 seed, possible at the number 1 seed. It just got long standing ramifications. And then your band-aid is all these dudes ain't gonna be able to ref the playoffs and all that stuff. I don't care, man. They still getting a game check, ain't they? They still getting paid.
Yeah, they already did their damage. They already did their damage.
They still getting paid. They should be fined and suspended.
There's more that's come out since then too, which I'll get into that whenever.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done. I'm
All right. So I got a lot to unpack here. So bear with me, guys. I'm gonna go back to the beginning of all this. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the beginning. About a month ago on my radio show up here in Messina, New York, I was talking about the Buffalo Bills call. I believe it was Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken. Something happened in that game. There was a big brouhaha towards the end of the game. Well, I brought it up, not because I was trying to defend anybody, but because I wanted people to understand why I never talk about referees making bad calls. And my thing that I said back then was the NFL, for all that it wants to say about integrity of the game, for suspending players for gambling, for all this stuff they do on the outside, all this talking they're doing, if you actually look at their actions, they don't care about integrity of the game. And I can say that because the NFL, of the major 4 sports leagues, the NFL is the only one that does not have full-time officials. All of the officials in the NFL are independent contractors, meaning they've got other jobs outside of being a referee. Some of them are lawyers, some of them are doctors, accountants. They might be the pediatrician down the street, okay? Point is, this is not what they do all the time. Brad Allen, the person who was the official for the game in question with Detroit, he's the head of a nonprofit. That's what he does Monday through Friday. The NFL gig, it's good money, but it's a secondary gig for him. So the NFL, for all they want to talk about integrity of the game, they don't care about that. Because if they cared about that, then refereeing would be the only thing these people do 365 days a year. Because they would be having intense training on what it is they're doing. They would figure out a way to give them something to do to practice being an official every single day, like the NBA does, like the MLB does, like the NHL does. The NFL don't do that, though. And it's not because they don't have the money. I believe it's because they don't want the referees to unionize.
Yeah.
Because then they would have to deal with the collective bargaining agreement for the players every few years and the collective bargaining agreement for the officials. And they don't want to do that because it wouldn't look good for them to have a referee lockout. So that's the first thing I said about a month ago. But I also said, and I believe I said it on this show as well as my radio show, the NFL is going to be forced to do something about this sooner rather than later. Because now sports betting is more than just a Vegas thing. It's being done everywhere. With that being said, you can see the government get involved. And I'm not talking politics on this show, but what I am saying is the government has been known to bring in different entities for committee hearings and saying, hey, wait a minute, what's going on with this? Wouldn't shock me at all if the NFL was brought in for a committee hearing regarding the officials and what are they going to do to make sure that people betting on games are betting on games that are not going to end up in the hands of somebody who could potentially rig it. So don't be shocked if that happens. And for folks saying, well, the NFL will take care of it long before that ever happens, look at what they did with the concussions. They didn't do a dang thing about concussions until they were basically brought out on the carpet and publicly shamed by everybody. So that was what I had said about a month ago. I did not think I was going to be talking about this in conjunction with my Lions tonight. And as far as the game itself is concerned, remember, our head coach has played for 3 teams in the NFL: the Lions, the Giants, and the Cowboys. He wanted that game. Growing up as a Texas kid, he idolized Jimmy Johnson. And the fact that Jimmy Johnson went into the Ring of Honor at halftime, you can bet your butt Dan Campbell wanted to have his team play the very best they could because he was getting the opportunity to coach in front of one of his idols. And for the most part, the Lions delivered. Now, CeeDee Lamb went off against us. That's an issue. That is an issue that 2 weeks in a row, the number one wide receiver for these teams has proceeded to basically have breakfast, lunch, and dinner on our defense.
I told you it was happening.
With that being said, though, the rest of the offense for the Dallas Cowboys, we held in check.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take that. But for me, this game was a boxing match. It was an instant classic, in my opinion. Both teams coming in evenly matched, playoff atmosphere. And when it came down to it towards the end, I'll tell you what I was doing. I was sitting on the couch next to Cassandra and Slinky Dog, and I'm sitting there screaming at my TV after we score that touchdown. I'm saying, please go for the extra point. We can beat these guys in overtime. Just go for the extra point. And then we lined up for the 2-point conversion. We ran the 2-point conversion. Decker catches it like in the photo for Bobby Bless behind him there. And I'm dancing around my living room like an idiot because I'm thinking, oh my God, we just pulled that off and we threw a tackle-eligible play. And it worked. And then about 15 seconds later, I go from pure joy to heartbroken. And at that point, I'm thinking, please go for the PAT. Let's get it over with. But Dan Campbell, 2 more times, as everybody knows by now, went for the 2-point conversion. We got it the first time, didn't get it the last 2. We end up losing the game. 23 seconds left. Dallas recovers the onside kick. They knee it. End of story. Or so I thought. Because this is the second part of what I'm trying to say. I do not have anything against the NFL rules analysts that they have on the broadcast. I got nothing against them personally. But I don't know about y'all, but when my team just got its teeth kicked in, the last thing I want to hear is how I saw what I thought I saw, but there's not a dang thing anybody can do about it. Because they brought out that NFL rules analyst, and he's showing the footage. And it's like you're confirming that we got screwed, but there's no to unscrew us. So this doesn't help. And I've said this for a long time. NFL rules analysts should not be on the broadcast if you're not going to give them any power. Because all they do is make your referees look like a bunch of bums. Because they're pointing out all their mistakes and they have no ability to actually fix it. Now, in the XFL, and we don't talk about the XFL a lot on this show, but in the XFL and in the USFL, for the last 2 seasons, they actually had Dean Blandino, XFL had Dean Blandino, up in the booth. And if he saw a referee make an incorrect call, they would stop the play, he would call to them, and they would fix the call on the field.
Which is something that they need. Which is something they definitely need to implement. And this is and to go to your point, I keep telling myself, I said, I don't understand why they go to these dang on booths, they review these dang on plays, and they're on the phone with New York. They're on the phone with them. Right. That play should be able to be challenged. And at that time, it should have been automatically reviewed and redone. Like I've experienced my team make a play. It was a pass interference A flag was thrown. And then how long afterward they picked that dang on flag up?
Right.
Trying to
They
say
was
that it
already
wasn't
down
one.
celebrating. I couldn't believe what
And
I
once
seen.
again in Dallas.
Yeah. No, and see that's my point though, is that they have these NFL rules analysts and they're there to add to the story. Because remember, on the broadcast side of things, it's not a football game, it's a story. They're trying to tell you a story. And so it makes the story more interesting when you can add conflict to it. But as far as the actual game itself, they don't do a dang thing for the game other than piss off the fan at home by confirming to them, you saw what you thought you saw, but there's nothing we can do about it. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I know I've been talking for a long time, but the other thing I wanted to bring up is the fact that when it comes to the rule being, messed up and everything, the call being messed up, another thing that made it worse to me was everybody was pissed off about this, whether they were a Lions fan, a Lions enemy, or a Lions acquaintance. Okay, everybody was mad about this. The next day, though, Adam Schefter comes out and says, oh, by the way, on the drive before, the referees also messed up a call that should have went the Cowboys' way. And of course, by doing that, what does the general fan do? The general fan says, well, I guess you could say it was messed up for both sides. Because that's what they're trying. They're trying to distract you. It's like a magic trick. Watch this hand. Don't pay attention to this one over here. And a lot of people took the bait and they said, well, obviously, people are going to miss calls. It's just going to happen. But like I said, right after it occurred, when I looked at the video evidence, you see Jared Goff send Taylor Decker over to the referee. He would not do that for any other reason other than to report. And yes, number 70, big number 70, John Skipper, had been reporting as eligible throughout the game. But the referee decided, well, I'm just going to assume. And we all know that when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So he assumed, he called out the wrong player, and unfortunately, there's no mechanism to fix it because Detroit didn't have a timeout at the time. So there's nothing Detroit can do after they call out on the loudspeaker, number 70 is eligible, and they don't call out number 68. There's not a dang thing Dan Campbell can do. You got to run the play and hope it works out. But I think it was John Perry, if I'm not mistaken, for ESPN. He had said, because of the fact that this was a 2-point attempt, there was no reason to rush it. They could have taken 5 minutes to get it right. And the referee didn't. He was in such a hurry that he rushed it. And as far as the punishment is concerned, to get to that side of it, for these referees, they will not call a playoff game this season. That is their punishment. They will not get to call a playoff game. But it came out about 3 hours ago that they will be calling a game this Sunday between the Ravens and the Steelers. So they're not going to get to call a playoff game, but less than a week after they blew a huge call, they're going to get to do a game where for the Steelers, they're still alive. They still have playoff aspirations. Can you imagine how Mike Tomlin must feel about that right now? Wait a minute. The referee crew you're giving us is the same one that screwed that call up in Detroit? I'm shocked. Now, if I was the commissioner, and I am not the commissioner, but if I was the commissioner, I know that I have the power to have the last 23 seconds played, should I choose, play the whole game over, should I choose, or overturn the result. If it was me, and I was the commissioner, I would have issued a tie. I would
Let me
not
tell you
have,
something.
I
The betting is stopping that. The gambling that's not
here's why I'm saying that though. I would have issued a tie because you can't give the Lions the win because you don't know what would have happened in that last 23 seconds. CeeDee Lamb could have caught a 50-yard pass. They could have kicked a field goal. They could have won the game. So you can't just overturn it and say, well, Detroit wins because it wasn't the last play of the game. But you could issue a tie, and I don't know how that would have necessarily worked things out as far as the playoff seeding is concerned, but that would have been better than giving Detroit a loss on a play that they actually did what they needed to do. So that's kind of what I got as far as that game is concerned. And I just want to make sure that I get the Steelers game right because that will be interesting. The Steelers will be playing, they'll be playing Saturday actually at 4:30. Steelers at the Ravens. Good chance the Ravens will be resting some people. But again, for everybody saying these referees are getting punished, they're not really getting punished because not only do they get their game check, as Bobby pointed out to you, they get to call a game less than a week later after blowing a call of that magnitude. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. But, Bobby wanted to talk about how we felt about going for it on fourth down. So I'll kind of start there and then I'll toss it to Reggie. Reggie toss it to Bobby. But for me, as far as the fourth down thing is, or not fourth down, but going for the PAT in 2-point conversion situation, again, I was rooting for the PAT. I thought right now we're on fire offensively. We're doing what we need to do. Let's just kick the PAT and let's go to overtime and let's beat them. I, however, was not angry at Dan Campbell for going for it. I do feel like, though, after the blown call, we should have lined up for the PAT and just kicked the thing. My personal opinion. Now, obviously, we can't go back in time, but like I said, I wasn't mad at him for it, but I felt like after that first one, dude, like, kick the PAT. We're playing too good right now to let these guys off the hook like that. There's a good chance we'll win the coin toss and we can go down and we can score again because we just did it. So that's how I felt about it. Reggie, how'd you feel?
So I was opposite of that. I wanted him to go for the 2. I wanted him to go for the win, especially learning that he told his team before they even went into that drive that they were going to go for the win. And for them to get screwed on the actual win, I think he could, not that he would lose his team by backtracking and saying let's kick it, but in his mind, it was tantamount to him admitting defeat in that situation. And as a coach, the kind of coach that Dan Campbell is, I wouldn't have done that either. I would have went ahead and went for the 2 as well. I'd have kept going for it. It's showing belief in your team that we can always do it. So that what he's been doing all season is just build their confidence up in those plays and in those opportunities. And his offensive coordinator, he has a plethora of plays that he feels that he can always score that in those situations. But to hear all these folks try to shortchange what happened with the 2-point conversion and say, well, y'all still had 2 more opportunities. Y'all could have just kicked you don't know what was going to happen after that. Nobody knows. We don't know whether we're going to get that football back. We don't know what type of momentum they would have because essentially they went from losing to still having a chance to win. And that actually takes momentum away from us. Then we actually were struggling to move the ball until those last plays, but that's only because they were dropping back. They're basically in a situation where they were allowing us to get to that point. So it's kind of like to go from that to actually them going back into a formal defense where we were actually struggling before. We just don't know. Let's put it like that. So in that situation, I'd have kept going for 2. I didn't have a problem with him continuing to go for it. And actually, I'm actually appreciative that he did because it basically magnified the mistake of the referees by saying, not only did y'all do that, but y'all caused us to lose this game. If he had went for it and tied and then they eventually lost, no, y'all was going to lose anyway. No, they took that game away from us. Mm-hmm. And I'm taking that all the way to the press conference to let you know my disgust with it. So that's why I had no problem with it.
Bobby?
That you guys made the perfect segue for me. That's why I love y'all as my brothers. Because yes and yes. I agree and I don't agree. Okay. I'm watching the game. You know what I mean? We get the touchdown. I'm like, kick the field goal. We tied it up. But the whole time they going down the field to score, I'm thinking kicking the field goal to tie. You feel me? So
Okay.
now he get the touchdown. I still screaming field goal. Then the offense stay on the field. I said, win the game then, Dan. You know what I mean? You feel me? Yeah, to show me some win the game then, Dan. Like, what I can say is like I was it's the right way, the wrong way, and Dan Campbell way. I was thinking whole time we about to tie this up, whoop whoop, and then they said, "Oh no, we about to win the game." It just shows a different culture. As we was talking about, as we was talking about in our meeting, the difference between if that was Caldwell kicking it, Coach Campbell not. We were angry at Caldwell for not kicking it. I mean, for not going for two. We getting what we want and don't even want and don't even know that's what we want. So I feel like Dan Campbell going for two, he got house money. It is a lot of stuff popping in my head. Why? He already said in the press conference sometime last week that this was a de facto playoff game. So I'm assuming he already thinking he playing with house money. So let's go ahead and win it. And I don't know if that's football or basketball, but it's the old adage. It's the old sports adage, at least, where the road team don't play for overtime. The road team play to win. So I'm thinking all that good stuff too. So I felt you, but I felt Elijah at first, but then I'm with my boy brother Reggie too, because hey, let's win this thing. There's a guy on Seinfeld. This might be too old for you, Elijah, but George Costanza. George Costanza. He had he said if every decision I make is a bad decision, if I do the opposite of what I want to do, it should be a good decision. So basically, man, we're gonna do something different. We're not gonna let we've been to overtime before this year, right? If I'm not mistaken, week 2. We didn't even get a chance to get the ball. So right. I'm thinking, I'm adding all this and that, and then like what Reggie also said, Dan Campbell let it be known he already told these guys we're going out there to win the game. So I'm good with it. I don't have no buyer's remorse, as they say, and I don't have no after effect opinion. You know what I mean? Because in the moment I was down with it, and the man had Jalen Reeves Maven throwing the pass.
Yeah.
So it's open. You feel me?
Everything. You know what, Bobby? You know what else about that I just thought about in this whole situation? This is probably all the fuel they need going into this playoff. Right. Like my team, they pissed, they're angry, they feel abused, they're embodying all that negative energy and turning it into something positive over being Detroit Lions. And the other aspect of that too that I thought about when I was thinking about this whole situation, his team was probably telling him, "Let us go get it again, coach. Let us go get it again. We got this." Because now this is their mind. They're embodying the mindset of their coach now. Yeah. Like ain't no Lions team ever said, "Oh well, you know what I'm saying, we go for 2, cool." No, this team like we always going for it. 4th down, cool. Going for 2, cool. 4th down on the goal line, cool. We got this. Like they can't stop us. I want them to have that attitude all the way throughout.
Yeah, and one more thing to add to it, Elijah. For me, as far as them going for 2 or kicking the field goal, that wasn't the big thing with me. I'm more of what the hell is that the best play you could have called? I think they should have called something else than a pass to James Mitchell. Now, I don't know. Maybe they went to the back of their playbook because they throwing passes to Decker. So I don't know if they ran out of plays or something, but I would have loved to see something different. something to one of our playmakers, maybe Laporta, definitely St. Brown. You know, the reliable guys. That's what I kind of didn't understand. Maybe I don't know why in that situation we throw the ball to the third string tight end. But as far as trying to win the game, it helped me realize this is a different Lions team and culture that we go for it now. We trying to win the game. We ain't just trying to be in the game. We trying to win the game. And I like it. And he wanted them guys, like Reggie kind of said, he wanted them guys to be ready, but he also wanted the guys, hey, this is how it's gonna feel. So let's get that out of your system right now. You know what I mean? This is how it's gonna feel. Everybody in the world gonna be against you, but you know who gonna believe in you? Your coach. So,
but you know the crazy thing is though, Bobby, and I didn't think that I would be saying this year. I thought this was something that I'd be saying next year. I think they missed J-Mo leaving the game. I actually think they missed.
They were scared of him. They was getting
They were scared.
Yeah,
when I was looking at some of the plays that they were running, and I'm like, dog, he was actually doing what? Taking the top off the defense. And that opens up a world of room for Amon-Ra and Laporta. So I didn't think that I'd be saying that, this year. I thought it was something that, eventually he'll be able to do it. But we talked about it as well, him being the freshest wide receiver.
Yeah.
Him having game-breaking speed. And it looks like he's finally getting comfortable, and Goff has confidence in him. J-Mo could be the one. J-Mo could be the X factor for this whole playoff run for us. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw that out there now.
Let's kind of talk about that for a moment. Obviously, the call didn't go our way on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Time marches on, as that old country song would say. So we got Minnesota coming up on Sunday. And obviously we got the playoffs after that. I think the guys kind of said what I was going to say, but I'll just say it anyway, just to kind of reaffirm what my two friends just said here. I think this game makes us better.
Mm-hmm.
Every single year when they put out the DVD, right after the Super Bowl is done, they all of a sudden have that commercial saying, hey, Kansas City Chiefs fans, your team just won the Super Bowl. Get yourself a t-shirt and the Blu-ray, okay? But if you've ever actually watched any of those Blu-rays of any of the teams that have won the Super Bowl, they're all narrated by the same guy, and they always like to focus on the things that went wrong in that Super Bowl run, and how the team overcame it. So, like, in my head right now, I'm thinking of our Super Bowl Blu-ray for the Detroit Lions 2023/2024 edition, okay? And if you're looking at that right now, the blemishes would be the loss to Seattle, the loss to the Packers, the loss to the Bears, this controversial call against the Cowboys.
The Ravens, they whooped that butt too, brother.
And the Ravens, but then somehow it's going to take it and say, well, look at all these things they overcame. They were battle tested. Therefore, when this came up again, they knew what to do. I've been saying it since April. My Super Bowl prediction, Detroit and Buffalo. That's what I've been saying to anybody that would listen to me, Detroit and Buffalo. And I honestly believe, even more today than I did prior to Saturday, that is going to happen. Because this team now gets it. They understand. And the guys who have been here since 3-13 and before, they're not going to let this opportunity pass them by. Because every year is a new team. Every year is a new team. We all know that in football. This year's team is special. So for me, I think this game will end up making us better. I do want to address a comment here that we got. It looks like we have Jarvis Blanton tuning in tonight.
That's my brother, man. That's my brother, Toledo born and raised, brother.
Jarvis says going for 2 is aggressive, and that's why Dan Campbell is the coach. I'm good with it. And yeah, again, this is very much like him. And the one thing that I will say to defend all of his aggressive calls, at some point in your season, unless you are just a absolute dominating team, at some point in your season, you are going to need to convert a 4th down. You are going to need to maybe try a fake punt. You are going to need to score that 2-point conversion. And at least for the 2023 Detroit Lions, whenever that moment happens and we have to have it, we're not going to have first-time jitters because our guys have been doing that all season long.
Yeah, I went over my dad's house today, and he was like, he was my dad, he a realist, even though he a Cowboy fan. He not gonna say that was like no good win for them. But he said Detroit got a lot to be proud of as far as what caught on with us. And he said Aiden Hutchinson looked like he was the number 1 pick in the draft, or you know what I mean? So he said it's a lot to look at. But he was just saying like Detroit is in good too. He was saying when we get in there, Lions gonna really be able to show how good we are. So I'm interested for that, brother. Just not to cut you off though.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
And what I want to do right now is I want to go through the NFL playoff clinching scenarios before we get to this week's game. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and fellas, just let me know if this works okay. I'm pulling this from NFL.com so that we got the official one. So guys, just let me know if you can see that on your screen.
Looks good.
All right. So I'm just going to read it here. And fellas, if there's something you want to chime in on, let me know. Okay. Just because I can't see you on the screen. So you'll just have to let me know that, you got something for me. So for the AFC side of things, obviously, Buffalo Bills, they're still trying to get into the playoffs.
They hot right now, though. They are
very
They
hot.
look good.
They have got a game at Miami. That'll be Sunday at 8:20. That's your Sunday night football game on NBC. Buffalo will clinch the AFC East Division title with a win over Miami. And right now, Miami, they have consistently had issues beating teams with winning records. We know this. So if I had to pick, I'd say Buffalo in this game.
Where they playing?
They're playing at Miami.
I don't know. I don't think I'm picking Buffalo.
But Buffalo clinches the AFC East Division title with a Buffalo win. Now, if for some reason Buffalo does not win this game, they can clinch a playoff berth with a tie, which, let's be honest, that's not going to happen, a Pittsburgh loss, a Jacksonville loss, or a Houston and Indianapolis tie. So in order for my Super Bowl prediction to come true, obviously I got to get the Bills into the playoffs. I think the easiest way, just win and you're in. I think that's the easiest way for them. Will that happen in Miami? I don't know. But I know for Miami, they're already in the playoffs. They're just trying to figure out, are they going to be division champions or not? But that's Buffalo, Miami for you. Houston Texans, I think we can all agree, Houston is a team that I did not see being as far along as they are this season.
Good young coach.
I really thought it would take them a little bit, but that's not how it's worked out for them. They're actually on the front door, or I should say on the front porch to the playoffs. Houston Texans clinched the AFC South Division, which has been a crazy division this year, with a win and a Jacksonville loss or tie. So that's for Houston. Houston can clinch a playoff berth with a win, or a Houston tie, Jacksonville loss, and Pittsburgh loss or tie.
Man, that's confusing as hell, Elijah.
I know that but I figured I'd read it for the show, but you guys can see it on the screen as well.
Yeah.
But for Houston, again, they're playing against the Colts. If they beat the Colts, they're in the playoffs. But if they want to win the division, they need to win against the Colts, and they need Jacksonville to lose So we'll see what happens there. Indianapolis, it's kind of reverse, if you get what I'm saying. So in order for them to clinch AFC South Division, they need to win, and they need a Jacksonville loss. That's what the Colts need. I don't think the Colts are a playoff team. I know they're 9-7 and everything, but I don't think if they get in the playoffs, I don't see them going very far. So I think their season is going to kind of come to an abrupt end against Houston. That's just my personal opinion. That, by the way, Saturday, 8:15 on ESPN and ABC. Moving down, Jacksonville. I heard a lot of talk about Jacksonville this season. A lot of people love Jacksonville, and then it just seemed like all of a sudden their whole season came to a screeching halt. Trevor Lawrence is injured. That's been a big issue for them.
Yeah.
But they still have a shot. They can win the AFC South with a Jacksonville win. They can get into the playoffs with a Jacksonville tie plus a Pittsburgh loss. And then there's another scenario that has 3 or 4 teams involved. I'm not going to read that. Moving down, we already talked about Miami. Let's talk about Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they're going to be at Baltimore Saturday, 4:30 on ESPN and ABC. Again, they've got the same referee crew that we had this past weekend. So as they would say in the Hunger Games, may the odds ever be in your favor. I'm just saying.
Hey, dude,
Steelers,
they better not call no good game. I know that. I better not call no good game. I know that.
Pittsburgh Steelers, they can get into the playoffs with a win and a Buffalo loss. They can also get into the playoffs with a win and a Jacksonville loss. And then after that, it gets convoluted. So that's the situation for Pittsburgh. And just a side note, I have never seen a team more upset that they won. Because I have a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans who are friends of mine, and they're all upset that Pittsburgh won last weekend over Seattle because they all want Mike Tomlin not to be the coach anymore.
Oh, they stupid as hell then. Yeah, they ain't smart.
I never said they were smart, Bobby. I never said they were smart.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But they're all upset about continuing to have winning seasons that don't go anywhere. That's their issue. So, I mean, I wish I was that lucky. But anyway,
Man.
side of things. This will go pretty quick because there's not a whole lot of teams involved.
Nope.
Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, believe it or not, the Atlanta Falcons are
they can win the division, right?
Yeah, they're not only still alive, but they can actually win the division, as Bobby just said. Atlanta clinches the NFC South Division title with an Atlanta win and a Tampa Bay loss.
Damn.
And Atlanta is playing at New Orleans, by the way, Sunday at 1 on CBS. So for Atlanta, that's the only path to the playoffs. Win and a Tampa Bay loss. And for them, that would be considered a major success. I'm not putting the Falcons down. I'm just saying that for a lot of people, Falcons fans, they thought this thing was over with 3 weeks ago. So for the fact that they're still alive and they still have something to play for, they're just excited to be there, if you get what I'm saying. But they can win the NFC South Division title with a win and a Tampa Bay loss. Dallas Cowboys, they can clinch the NFC East Division title with a Dallas win or a Dallas tie and a Philadelphia tie or a Philadelphia loss. So me personally, I'm hoping the Cowboys lose at Washington. Probably won't.
Who Philadelphia playing? The Giants, right?
I haven't gotten that far yet, Bobby.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. You're good. I just
okay.
don't know. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't.
Okay.
But when we get there, though, I'll be sure to point that out.
Yeah, my bad.
No, you're good, man. I just don't have it all memorized.
Okay.
Green Bay is going to be playing against Chicago on Sunday at 4:25. Green Bay clinches a playoff berth with a win. Or there's a whole lot of convolutedness here. A Green Bay tie, a Seattle loss or tie, and a New Orleans loss or tie. That ain't going to happen. Basically, for Green Bay, it's win and in. That's their situation. A win and they're in against Chicago. So we'll see what happens there. Minnesota, they need a lot of help. They need a lot of help, Bobby and Reggie. And a lot of it, in fact, all of it starts with a win over us. So they need this game against Detroit on Sunday. But here's what they need. They need a Minnesota win against our Lions. They need a Green Bay loss. They need a Seattle loss. And they need a Tampa Bay loss. If those things don't happen, Minnesota, go ahead and put away the football equipment. It will not be needed until next spring. So we'll see what happens there. New Orleans, as we talked about earlier, obviously they got a big game against Atlanta Sunday at 1 o'clock. For New Orleans, they clinched the NFC South Division title with a New Orleans win and a Tampa Bay loss. So that NFC South, granted, that really doesn't have much to do with us, but I will be very curious to see what team from that division actually gets in. I'm just curious about that. Philadelphia Eagles, they will be at the New York Giants, Bobby. That's Sunday at 4:25. Philadelphia clinches the NFC East Division title with a Philadelphia win and a Dallas loss. So Philadelphia needs to win, and they need Dallas to lose. And that's how Philadelphia would get the East Division title. Seattle Seahawks. Seattle. They can get into the playoffs, but here's what they need. They once again are looking for help from the NFC North, because if they win, that's not good enough. They need to beat the Cardinals, and they need Green Bay to lose to Chicago. And I'm going to say this right now. This is one of the very few times in my life where I will tell you, go Pack go, because I do not want to see Seattle. I do not want to see Seattle in the playoffs. I do not like them. I feel like they are the thorn in our side. I would much rather play anybody else than Seattle. So for me, I'm hoping Seattle loses their game against the Cardinals. They probably won't. And if they don't, then I'm hoping that Green Bay wins their game so that Seattle can't go to the playoffs, and then we can, laugh at them like they laughed at us last season, the way they did. Let's see. How many more teams we got left? Oh, only one more. Perfect. Tampa Bay. They're going to be at Carolina Sunday at 1 o'clock. Tampa Bay, David Tepper, he's not going to be able to play defense for his Carolina Panthers. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I said it on my radio show. I said it's pretty sad when the best defensive effort you had from your team was your owner throwing a drink at the opposing fan base. But anyway, Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Carolina Sunday at 1 o'clock. It's real simple. Tampa Bay wins the NFC South with a Tampa Bay win, and Tampa Bay can clinch a playoff berth. If all things go south against Carolina, they can clinch a playoff because it kind of gives us some fuel for thought. So, Reggie, with all that being said, and I know I talked for a long time there, my friend, what game outside the Lions game are you the most interested in? He's just staring at the screen, but I know he heard me. He's just staring at the screen. Bobby Bless, what game outside the Lions game are you interested in?
Reggie's silly.
I don't care about nobody.
He's too. Hey, I want to see the Buffalo Miami game, man. That's basically the one that's the division championship game. I think because what you forgot to leave out is that's one hell of a roller coaster ride that the Buffalo Bills on. They can go from potential division champions to not even in the playoffs. So that's kind of deep. It's kind of deep.
And you know what? It makes me glad that we're in the position we're in, because we ain't got to stress. No matter what happens, we're in the playoffs. And that's a beautiful feeling to have, because we have not had that feeling very much over the past few years. So I'll take it where we can get it. Me personally, I'm interested in that Bears-Chicago game. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens. And for the love of everything good and holy, do not let Seattle into this playoffs right now. Because, again, they are that team that has our number. Bobby said it, I believe, back whenever we lost to Seattle. He said, Elijah, there's just those teams that just have you figured out. And Seattle, for whatever reason, they are that team for us. So if we can get them out of the way, I'd be happy with that. I also will say, though, I don't like how Green Bay all of a sudden looks like they're getting it together. And I don't know whether that's because they're playing bad teams or if that's because they're starting to actually fire on all cylinders. But I would love this scenario to play itself out. It probably won't, but I would love for Green Bay to get in, Green Bay to take a trip down to Dallas, kick their ass. Meanwhile, while they're kicking the Cowboys' ass, we're beating on the Rams. And then Green Bay, somehow, some way, has to come to Detroit. I would love for that to be the situation, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. With all that being said, though, let's get to this Lions-Vikings game because obviously that's the one that's most important to us. Reggie Funchess, I'm going to send it over to you, man, because I need a break from talking. So, Lions-Vikings, what do you got? What are you looking at?
With them, I would say I want to go ahead and make sure they don't make playoffs. I want to ensure that they don't make the playoffs. One, because I don't like Minnesota. Two, I don't like Minnesota. Three, I just don't like Minnesota. Like, I don't like anybody in our division. So I want them to lose. And I don't want them to have any hope of getting anything worth having ever again. Because that's my life as a Detroit Lions fan, where I'm always on the outside looking in. Man, I wish my team was making the playoffs this year. Man, Minnesota been beating on us. Oh man, Green Bay been beating on us. No, I like to return the favor. Let's throw them a beating. Let's throw them a beating, crush their hopes, make them cry all summer. That's all I feel. That's just literally how I feel about that. Matter of fact, my joy has been taken. That's the referee did for me. All my joy for football has been taken away. The only thing I got is vengeful thoughts. Angry, vengeful thoughts. That's where I'm at right now.
So here's a question, because I know Bobby wanted to ask this, and I want to make sure I get this in there for Bobby. Do we sit the starters in this game, Reggie?
I wouldn't. I would not. They probably will. Some people, but you got to think about it. We got Aleem McNeil possibly coming back. Johnson coming back. Possibly Houston coming back.
Sit them all.
You know, huh?
Sit them all. Sit them all.
I wouldn't sit them. I'll let them get some game reps in so they can kind of get ramped up a bit. I don't want them. I don't want their first time playing football in weeks or months to be instant playoff atmosphere, because that's where you lose somebody.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Like let them get some reps in. Get their feet wet. Get a good sweat in. Hit some people. Realize that their bodies, has recovered. They don't got to worry about getting hurt.
Preseason game, right?
I would treat it like a preseason game.
Okay, well, I'm down with
like
that.
what they call it, the dress rehearsal.
Yeah. They don't play till like halftime, third quarter.
Absolutely, and that's the other thing that's really, really exciting about what's happening right now. Like, our defense played well this week, but we also gave up a lot to CD, which showed a weakness. But to get a bona fide pass rusher back, your best D tackle back, and to get a safety back,
reload.
Yeah, it's like crazy. It's almost like you traded for 3 people.
Yeah.
After the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And then with J-Mo hitting his stride too, you actually got 4 players that had the chance to make a significant impact for this team going into the playoffs. That's exciting to me. Let them all get their feet wet.
I wholeheartedly agree. Bobby Bless, you kind of gave away your position a little bit there, man, but I'm gonna toss it over to you.
So I feel, man, I don't want to play in the whole game. It don't take much to convince me, but I'm more of a fan. I don't want to see J-Mo at all. That's just no. He don't need to play because he had his ankle injury. He need to sit on out. He good. For real, I don't really want to see the running backs. We need them dudes. You know what I mean? Take them out. I don't know. I rather sit him, but I just don't want to put nobody in harm's way. Let our guy Hooker get some clock. You feel me? Let him play the second half. All that kind of stuff. Just to let him. What I mean? They didn't put their work in. Minnesota is sorry. They are sorry. So I'm not worried about them winning or losing or getting in the playoffs.
Almost as sorry as them Packers.
Man,
No. Oh, no.
No, I'm just being facetious. I'm angry man right now.
And he put I had watching the damn Minnesota Packer game. They benched the dude on camera, like the dude come in. Yeah, we're gonna go in another position. When has the coaches ever said they gonna take the motherfucker out at halftime talking, man? That was funny. Like, dude just benched him on national TV. Like, yeah, we're gonna go in the other. We're gonna go with Nick Mullins. I ain't never heard.
And then proceed to have a QB. He was playing just as bad, if not worse.
Right. So that was funny in itself. But I just don't want nobody to get hurt, man. Especially on that offensive line. We pretty in good shape when them guys on the field. So I definitely understand wanting them to ramp up kind of thing, but I also understand these other than Houston, maybe. I think Liam McNeil is gonna come ready, but I can't deny the valid points Reggie made though. But we don't need him. We need the rest. We need the rest.
So here's what I got for you as far as the sit 'em or don't sit 'em thing. So, and I do want to say good evening to Nate Rucker, who is joining us. Looks like he's on the job. So thank you, Nate, for joining us with that.
Yeah.
So as far as whether or not
top flight,
sit 'em. So as far
top
as
flight,
sit 'em or not sit 'em, I would say I would have a very hard time sitting the guys because we have an opportunity on Sunday to make some history, okay? Because not only could we get our 12th win, which should really be our 13th win, but we ain't going to go there right now. You also have the opportunity to have 2 1,000-yard rushers. David Montgomery's at 975 yards rushing. He just needs 25 yards and he hits 1,000. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, who's at 915 yards rushing. He just needs 85 yards and he hits 1,000. So it would be difficult for me in that offensive line to sit there and say, we ain't going to go for it. It would be heartbreaking for that offensive line to say, we're not going to go for it. We're not going to go for 2 1,000-yard rushers to end the season and put some stank on it, to really send us into these playoffs the way that we're supposed to be. But I do also agree that if somebody gets hurt against Minnesota, we're going to look like we got egg on our face. So I get that side of it too. Reggie said, treat it like a preseason game. Bobby said, basically, fuck those Vikings. And what I will say is, if you're going to sit anybody in this game, and I know I'm going to get some pushback for this, I would sit Jared Goff.
Hell yeah.
Because you don't need Jared Goff getting hurt. And also, I would love nothing more than for Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves, to put it on him one more time for Minnesota, because I think that would be hilarious.
No. But I want to see your boy. I want to see your boy, man.
Listen, I would love to see Hendon Hooker, but me and Nate already came up with the agreement. We spoken with Hendon's agent. He ain't playing until next season.
He needs to play.
Let him rest.
He needs to play.
We're going to let him rest. But no, Teddy Two Gloves one more time, because he's not going to play in the playoffs. I mean, obviously knock on wood. See him one more time against a team that gave up on him after his horrific knee injury. I would love to see that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Or seeing Hendon Hooker and Teddy take time together. But like I said, just knowing how Dan Campbell is, knowing how aggressive he is, I don't know that he can bring himself not to play the starting offensive line and his 2 starting running backs when they're both so damn close to 1,000 yards. Nate Rucker, I want to toss it over to you. Nate, what do you think? What would you do with this Minnesota game.
Get them right, Nate. Get them right, Nate. Please get them right.
Well, just think about this. Last year, we were in a meaningless game of the year. We knew we weren't going to make the playoffs, correct? We
Mm-hmm.
knew. Once Seattle did what they did, and what they ended up doing, playing. Hold on, y'all.
And they ended up
Man.
throwing them a beating.
Yeah.
They gave them all the momentum they needed.
I know this motherfucker about to make a good point. I know he about to. Man, I know he about to.
That is the dreaded. Just look at the iPad, Bobby. It's gonna be okay. Just look at the iPad.
I know, man. He about to make a good point. And then he talked it all slow, and now we waiting and shit.
Yeah.
It's about to be.
He put us on pause for a moment. We're just gonna sit here and wait. Just let the.
No, I just ended the fall. That's exactly what it was.
Sorry about that, y'all, but you got to think about it. Dan Campbell is going to want all the recognition. He's going to play them. He's going to let the NFL know just how bad they fucked up with what they did. He's going to I feel bad for Minnesota because I really think he may try to ground their franchise into the ground. And
he might run it up, Nate. Oh,
leave no doubt, Campbell.
He gonna try to beat them. He gonna beat them so bad. He gonna beat them so bad. JJ gonna want to sign with us.
They're gonna remember the day they played the Detroit Lions. Not
a rue the day. You gonna rue the day.
Leave no doubt.
Sweep the leg. Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg. That's what they gonna tell him to do.
So Nate's saying 185 to nothing.
Yeah, basically.
It's gonna be a busy night. Well, look, it's gonna be a busy night. But I said I had to check in with y'all for a minute. It's already starting. But yeah,
it's the first of the month. Boy, they ain't ready.
Listen. They gonna run their ass into the ground.
Nate, score prediction before you go.
42-13.
Damn.
Yeah, dang.
Golly. As Philip Rivers would say. All right, so I mean that kind of sets the tone right there, fellas. Again, though, I'm gonna go back to what I said before, and I do appreciate Nate hopping in from the job. We appreciate it. I'm gonna go back to what I said
That's
before.
The GOAT.
Top flight.
If I gotta sit anybody, I would probably sit Jared Goff because you can't afford for him to get hurt. And I know Minnesota, like I try not to ever accuse a team of being dirty. But at the same time, like, I could definitely see Minnesota taking some shots they wouldn't normally take because
sweep the leg.
They got nothing to play for.
Sweep the leg.
And I shouldn't say they got nothing to play for because they're technically still alive. But they need to win and they need a lot of help. They need to win and they need a lot of help. So, barring anything crazy, like I remember, y'all will probably remember this vaguely, but maybe you didn't follow it because you're not Packers fans. But Brenda should remember this one. So back in the early 2000s, I was watching the Packers with my dad, and I believe it was Green Bay and Denver. They were playing each other up in Lambeau, if I'm not mistaken. Green Bay smoked Denver, but they knew they needed the Arizona Cardinals to beat the Minnesota Vikings. And Minnesota, they had Randy Moss, they had Dante Culpepper. Like this is
Minnesota lost, didn't they?
And what ended up happening was it was 4th down and I think 25, if I'm not mistaken. Josh McCown, I believe it was Josh McCown or Luke McCown, one of the McCown brothers, got outside the pocket, threw it, and that's when they still had the force out rule.
Oh, yeah. And it's a completion, right?
Guy ended up catching it, and the Minnesota Vikings announcer lost his mind. He's like, oh, my God. We missed the playoffs. The Cardinals won. And like, it was a whole thing. But I remember that game because my dad, we were living, I believe, in Georgia at the time. So we had to watch whatever game the Falcons were playing. So we were getting updates and we ended up seeing extra time, whenever they say at the end of the broadcast.
Yeah. Bonus time.
Bonus coverage. Yeah. So we got the bonus coverage of the Minnesota-Arizona game. And my dad was like acting a fool because Minnesota lost that game. And so my point of saying that is, in that situation, Green Bay knew we got to win and we need help. and they took care of their business. So for Minnesota, they do have a lot to play for in this game. They will show up and they will play us hard. I'm just curious to see, are we trying in this game? Or are we saying, let's get some guys some experience because chances are they're not going to play? And honestly, I like the idea of Hendon Hooker coming in and playing a little bit. I like that idea. I just don't know if that's something that they're going to do. I will say that Hendon has been the emergency quarterback the last 3 weeks. So he's been in a position where he could play if they absolutely needed him to. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, Teddy Two Gloves throwing for like 4 touchdowns against his old team, that to me would be pretty sweet. But we'll see what happens there. I want to get to closing remarks here, fellas, because we don't really have a whole lot more to talk about.
Oh, shit. It's all done already?
Well, unless you guys got something else for me.
Oh, yeah, I got about my hat. I ordered my hat directly from my NFC North hat. I ordered it directly from Lions.com, and I still haven't got it yet. So I should have just went to Lids or the shop, but it's coming directly from DetroitLions.com. It's taking the longest I've ever waited on the damn hat, but it's supposed to be here. Maybe it'll be here by next week episode. I don't know.
Hey, listen, all I got to say about that is if we win the Super Bowl, they better exchange that hat for free.
Oh, shit, you know what? I ain't going to wear it until then. So that's right. So here we go. Now, you know how they don't touch the conference championship trophy? They don't touch it. I ain't going to touch it. I'm just leave it in the box. Great point.
Reggie, let's get to closing remarks, my friends. I'm going to let you go first, Reggie.
Blow up, blow up, blow up, blow up, blow up.
Hey, what didn't they say that was going to happen to their franchise?
He said they're going to get grounded. He's going to grind their franchise into dust.
Something like that. That was funny.
So that's what Reggie's got for you. Bobby, closing remarks.
Man, go Lions. Go however the chips fall. We, just enjoy the fact that we are in the position we are. Don't let that loss to Dallas make you forget how well of a season that we done had. We done got rid of a lot of narratives. We done got rid of a lot of jinxes, this year. Let's continue to do that. And I agree with you, Elijah. The last time the Lions did go to farther than the playoff, they did have 12 wins. It was a 12-4 season. So maybe 12 is that number that we need, that lucky number, So I'm okay with that. And to get ready for the playoffs, man. Say your energy. Just say your energy. Yep. That's it for me, brother.
So for my closing remarks, I'm going to leave it by saying this. Minnesota Vikings, Detroit Lions in Detroit. It is not the last home game of the year. That should bring a smile to your face.
And you're right.
1 o'clock Sunday. 1 o'clock Sunday. That's where the action is. And I'm rooting for the Lions. I hope that, if the situation arises where we can sit some people, I hope we take advantage. Because we need everybody healthy. Because I'm not trying to to put a toe in the water of the playoffs. I want to jump right into the deep end. That's what I want to do. So we don't need nobody getting hurt in a game that for us doesn't hold a whole lot of meaning. So if the situation arises where we can sit some people after we got a commanding lead, I say go ahead and do that. That's what I say. Whether it's Teddy Two Gloves or if it's Hendon Hooker, I'm down for it. I'm here for it. And as far as Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, let's get them their 1,000 yards, fellas. Let's get them their 1,000 yards and then get them on the sidelines with Gatorade and enjoy themselves. Yeah. But with all that being said, hey, until we talk again next week, where we will be talking exclusively playoff football. Yeah, that's right. Playoff football. For the first time in this show's history, we'll be talking about the Lions. Guaranteed playoff game in Detroit. It's going to be special. We hope that you'll join us next week for that program. And until then, for Nate Rucker.
Love you, brothers.
For Reggie Funches. And for the #1 Lions fan, Mr. Bobby Bless. Hey, be good to yourself, be good to others in that order.